Hello everyone. Hope the weather's nice with you. It's nice and sunny here in London. Okay, so this presentation is called Beyond Documents. If you're hearing popping, apologies for that. We've been trying to track down what's causing that and thought it was the speakers, but it doesn't seem to be. Anyway, what I thought we would cover in this presentation is four main sections really, in fact two, if truth be told. A little bit about who I am, and then really into asking the question, is technical writing broken? And then, if it is, what are we moving towards if traditional documentation isn't what people want? And then to try and summarise what we're going to cover, or we've covered during the period. Okay, so let's a little bit about myself. And who I am. I'm from a sales and marketing background. I'm not, and never have been, a technical author. What I do is I'm a co-owner and work for a technical writing company, and what we do is provide services in that field, writing help for applications, placing contractors and permanent people, and running training courses as well, principally in Europe. What that means is that my role is to work out what it is that people will want to buy and then make sure our services are relevant to that. So I'm tending to take a step back from the nitty-gritty of which tools are relevant and the ins and outs of actually delivery, and more the strategic view of where things go. And so as mentioned, say Common Alliance as well, which helps provide international dimension to what we do. So, let's look at the question in hand, or the starting point with this, and that is technical writing, in a sense, broken? And in this section, what we'll look at is some findings from a survey we did at the start of this year, and also some thoughts from two people, Tony Self, who I'll explain who he is, and a gentleman called Dave Clarke, and also some trends towards what you might call the 21st century learner, and also a no documentation culture. So we did a survey back towards December last year, January this year, looking at publication teams in the UK. And we asked a number of questions to managers, and we put together a report on our findings. And some of the questions that we asked were questions such as these. Questions like, how many users are there for the content that you're producing? How good or bad is the documentation? How appropriate is it to your users' needs? And in terms of your competition, is it better or worse than what they produce? So these are questions as if some sort of management guru were coming into your department and treating it as a business, and asking questions like number of customers, what your competitive advantage is, how well your customers think or badly they think of you. And what we found was that actually, for most of the questions, publication managers didn't really know the answers to those questions. And I've talked about this at other presentations and posed those questions to people as well, asked the audience, how many users of your content do you have? And very few people have any idea how to respond to those questions. Excuse me, so I'll take a sip of water. And in general, what we found was that documentation teams often are working in a chaotic environment and are too busy to manage effectively what they do. They don't have time to do that. And they're stuck as a little island in the corner doing their own thing, separate from the rest of the organisation. And most of the things that they measured were really about productivity and how many pages per author, how many pages per day they could produce, but very little about the value of what the deliverables of what they're actually creating. And as an aside also, managing the content in terms of a single sourcing approach, certainly in the UK, isn't commonplace today. So I mentioned Tony Self. Well, Tony Self is a lecturer at Swinburne University in Australia, He was one of the lecturers on the technical communication course there. And he also owns a technical writing company called Hyperwrite in Australia as well. And one of the things he's been arguing is that technical writing is broken. Now, what he means by that is that as a profession, effectively, technical communicators have stood still. So if we take one of the key outputs that a lot of technical authors produce, which is online help, essentially the way in which online help looks and acts today is pretty much the same as it looked and acted back when it was introduced with Windows 3, back probably in the early 90s, late 1980s. Yeah, if you look at other applications like Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, then there's been significant changes in what customers, end users, get with those applications. Yeah, in fact, you could argue with online help things have gone backwards because WinHelp 3 had WinHelp had pop-ups, which we've struggled to have with HTML help and other formats of help since then. And there are other people arguing that there are problems with the deliverables that technical authors produce as well. One of which is a gentleman called Professor Dave Clarke. He's a professor at the Department of English at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And in a paper that he produced, and a study that he did on single sourcing, one of the things he found was that single sourcing essentially had produced great benefits for the organisation, but hadn't really delivered anything new or anything worse for the end users. And he's arguing that, in fact, single sourcing today is actually privileging organisational needs over end-user needs. It's prioritising them more than what the end-user gets. And it's limiting the potential and perceptions of what technical communicators can deliver and can provide for end-users. And it's also leading to technical writers channeling themselves into writing and management of content and not leading them to consider other areas like information design and non-writing aspects of and theories that are out there which can contribute to making user documentation better than it is today. So really what both are arguing is that most of what's been happening in the recent years has been where there have been changes within technical communication, it's all been essentially invisible to end users. It's been below the waterline. It might mean that they can get a document quicker in terms of turnaround than what was there before, but what they get hasn't really changed in recent years.